In this video, I'm teaching foundational strategies for catching drummer off the rocks. Hi, my name's Roger Osborne. I love drummer fishing. In fact, drummer are probably almost my favourite fish to eat. I haven't fished for them for the last few years because I've just been so busy with everything else, but I used to spend hours and hours and hours targeting drummer and absolutely love it. So in this video, I'm going to be teaching you very key, important information. If you're someone who's interested in rock fishing, the information I'm going to be sharing with you in these drummer videos, I really don't think you can get anywhere else. Not making myself out to be anything, but this sort of information, you just don't hear people teach it. So please watch the whole video because you will benefit greatly and it will very much impact your safety and your enjoyment of rock fishing. If you're enjoying this content, make sure that you like, subscribe, definitely hit the notification bell so that you know when other videos are coming out. Let's go fishing. So I'd like to talk about the waves, the size of the waves, the direction of the waves, how they affect hitting the rocks, how they affect your fishing. So I'm down here. There's actually a southeast swell. I'm on a headland where I'm facing north. So I'm on that part of the headland that looks up the coast. The swell's actually coming from behind me, from the southeast, and there's a light southerly wind. Now, I've actually never fished here for drummer before. However, I'm confident that I'd catch drummer here. But just now, it's kind of bordering on being too much wash. When you're drummer fishing, you need some white water and wash. When there's no wash, the water's super clear, and really, under those circumstances, early morning, and once the sun sets behind the hill in the evening, when in the low light periods, you're going to get drummer in clearer, calmer water, or if it's really overcast and raining. But at the moment, there's quite a few waves coming in here, and it's really only suitable for a fish in between the sets, because when a set comes, the waves are washing right through here, and there's actually too much turbulence. But I could have a couple of casts, I could burley up out here and probably get a fish, maybe a fish or two, but I'd have to be strategic as to when I can effectively cast my line out. I've fished in these sorts of conditions many times, and sometimes there's just too much turbulence because when you throw your float in the water, it just gets pushed along too quickly and won't stay in the zone where you want it to be. And it's kind of bordering on that right now. And when it comes to fishing for drummer or any type of rock fishing, more so than all other forms of fishing, the wave height, the wave direction, the wind, the conditions influence everything. They influence whether you can fish or you can't fish. They influence whether fish are going to be in a particular location or not. So I've got quite a fair bit of turbulence behind me here, and when these bigger waves come in, if I was fishing here just now, I'd have to pull my line in and come and stand here and wait for the sets to pass to be able to fish. I mean, at least the good thing with a headland like this, you can see the waves coming a long time before they get here. So you've got plenty of time to move out of the way so that you're not in any danger. You can see right now while I'm talking, you can see the waves that are coming around the point just now. See, those waves would make it unfishable for me to be standing there and fishing. Just too much water movement. It's not an overly dangerous spot, but it's not enjoyable when it's uncomfortable and you can't really do what you want to do. There's also the aspect of landing a fish because, I'll get my bait out there, I'll hook a solid fish. Drummer are really hard fighters, they're really dirty fighters, and you've got to be able to get them in. And when you've got waves coming, wash going around, that makes that a lot more difficult because you can't get as close to the edge as you'd like to. It certainly takes more skill, and you really would need to use the momentum of a wave to get a fish in. One of my favourite baits for drummer is bread, and I always burley. You can catch fish if you don't burley, but burling makes a massive difference. So I normally use the crust for burley, and I use the centre pieces of bread. I also take the crust off the outside. I just use all the crusts for burley while I fish. Now these conditions are slightly challenging when the big waves come in, so I'm just going to wait for breaks in between the waves, and in the meantime I'm going to chuck a bit of bread in the water. I want to wet it and soften it and then break it up because I want it to sink. I don't want it to just float off on the surface where the seagulls are going to eat it. So I'm going to chuck a bit of bread. I'm specifically throwing it into a wash. Where the bread lands, I know I can see which direction the current's going, so I know where the bread's going to go. So that's going to dictate where I cast my bait. I want to cast my bait exactly where the burley stream is going. So I'm going to just do that now, but now there's a couple of big waves coming again, so I'm just going to wait till they go. The beauty is you can see them coming a long way off, so there's no danger. I'll just wait till they pass, and then I'll chuck my burley in. If I throw the burley in now, because of the wash created by a couple of larger waves, it's likely to get washed away and not really go where I want it to go. So I'd rather wait till things calm down a little bit. You can see those waves. Now that, just a nice eating sized drummer. So there, you've really only been fishing for 5 minutes. And that's just a lovely eating sized drummer. They're very thick, robust fish. They have a lot of flesh on them. Compared to some fish, when you fillet them, you kind of get a lot of bone and not much fish. But these guys are really thick and solid. I've just moved in along the reef a little bit because I get a little bit more relief from the waves here. I still got to keep my eye on the waves, but that was really only my second cast there. And that's a nice eating size fish. So I think I might have to throw my line back in again and get another one. So I only just had my second cast here and got a nice eating sized drummer within a couple of minutes. I'll see if I can get another one. I can see there's a set coming out the back, so I need to be aware of that. It's going to tighten my drag a little bit because I'm going to keep my eye on those waves out the back while I'm watching my float. I just had a little nibble, but that's probably not a drummer bite because they pull it pretty hard when they take it. No, that's just a small fish having a bit of a go at the bread. So I can see a wave coming in. I'd like to get out of here. Yeah, I'm going to get out of here. I could see some waves coming, so I thought I'll just get away from the edge. I like to use a fairly large bread bait when I'm fishing for drummer. So that is actually one slice of bread with the crust taken off. I'll get 4 baits out of that. So what I do is I'll just get a quarter of that slice of bread, about that much. So that's 1/4 of the slice of bread. Then I'm going to get my hook. I'm actually going to thread the hook into the bread like so, and then I'm going to clamp it around the top part to firm that down, but I'm going to leave this bottom part fluffy. So that's going to hold it on, and that's nice and fluffy down there. This guy's not so big. I'm thinking maybe 10, 20. Quite a handsome, healthy fish, but just a little small. I'm estimating he's about 28 centimetres, so I'm going to let him go. I'm sure there'll be some bigger ones out there. The tide is dropping, and I've noticed the waves are calming down a little bit, which is making it a little bit more enjoyable. I'd like to get a bigger one. Okay, I just had a bite. Missed him. Might not have been a drummer. Because drummer are gutsers. They're total gutsers. They just go for the food like you wouldn't believe. When you're using a bread bait for drummer, which is very effective, or even if you're using peeled prawns, which are very good, you get small bites in between the big ones. You get other species that are attracted by the bread that'll come and take it. So you hook a few little ones or you lose some of the bait, but in between that, when the drummer get in there, you hook some really good fish. So that's what's happening now. I'm getting a few bites, I'm getting a few downs on the float, and the drummer are in between the small fish. I can see a big wave coming out the back. I think I've lost my bait, so I'm going to pull it in and then just get out of the way. Just thought I'd get out of the way of that next big wave that's coming. It's another undersized fish. We'll send him back to his mummy. There seems to be lots of these smaller drummer in this particular spot. I'd like to fish out a little bit further along the reef, but it was a little bit turbulent before. Although things seem to be calming now, down a bit now that the tide's going out. So this is the fourth drummer that I've landed. I've got one nice eating sized one and a few of these young ones. But at least there's plenty out there. I'm going to maybe move just up a little bit further into a slightly better looking zone for bigger fish. I'm getting a few little sweep and different things biting it. I've got a little bit of a break in the waves. Hang on, my float disappeared then. But it was undoubtedly a small fish. I have some peeled prawns as well in there, which I might... they're one of my other favourite baits for drummer. I have some peeled prawns in there as well. They're one of my other favourite baits for drummer, so I might try a bit of peeled prawn in a minute. But it's worth persevering along here because I've caught a few drummer and there's probably a couple of bigger ones down there, so it's certainly quite busy on the rocks today. I noticed that there's a couple of young guys out there a bit further, but unfortunately they're just wearing sandals. So if I get a chance to have a chat to them, I will. Admittedly, they're not standing close to the edge, which is good. Just had a bite. Oh, I've got a fish. What is it? Small or big? Small. This must be the drummer nursery just in there. But I'm a little bit limited where I can fish on this headland today just because of the nature of the waves. So this is drummer number 5. I've had some sessions where you just get smashed by 2 to 4 kilo fish. It's epic. So I'm going to try a bit of peeled prawn now for bait. Whoops, he's gone, look, took off. Just going to go over and grab my prawn. Zzz. This is a better one. Ugh. So that was my first peeled prawn bait, and it resulted in an eating size fish. So this is drummer number 6, but he's not just a nice edible fish. He liked that. He liked the prawn. The prawn. Whoa. There you go. I'll add him to my lovely drummer feed, which is only 2 at this point in time. So I've got a prawn here. This is a peeled prawn. I actually bought it from the supermarket. They're the ones that you eat. But they're excellent bait. Now I've only got a 1/0 hook. Sometimes I use a 2/0. So this bait's going to be a little bit big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the prawn on like so, then I'm just going to chop the end bit off and I'll use that on another bait. So essentially my hook is buried in that peeled prawn, and then I'm going to do a loop over and do a half hitch around the top to hold that prawn bait in place. Hold that prawn bait in place. Look at that. I mean, how good does that look? That looks absolutely delicious. A fish would love that. And I'm probably going to get one. Anyway, a few more of those lovely drummer. Oh man, I'm looking forward to eating those drummer. Awesome. Yeah, I've got a fish. What is it? Something small. Are you familiar with those? That's what we call a cocky. Or it's a rock cod, it's a cocky. There's zillions of them all around all the headlands. When you go spearfishing and diving, you just see them everywhere. They're quite an interesting little fish, but they get a fair bit bigger than this as well. You can go for a little swim just in there. Oh, there he goes. It's a fish, but I don't think he's massive. He's all right though. Oh, sugar. That was a nice drummer. It was slightly bigger than those other 2 that I've kept. And I just tried to quickly lift him up. He actually wasn't hooked that well. But that's all right. I'll just reload and get back in there. He was a nice fish actually. I know there's bigger fish here, but I just need to wait for a break in the waves. And it'll be a bit more of a challenge to land a fish because I can't get near the edge. But I could hook a bigger fish. Here comes another wave, bummer. Going to have to walk back. That's the challenge with fishing in this particular bit just here. I really just need to fish it in between the waves. So this spot, I've moved along the reef a little bit. This is where I first came. I'd really like to be able to fish here, but it's just a bit too turbulent. And I can't get close to the edge. And really the only time I get an opportunity is in between sets. And at the moment there's another set coming out the back. So I was fishing in closer, it's a lot calmer in there. I was getting smaller fish. Got 2 fish that I've kept, and I lost a good eating size fish. But you can see there's a wave breaking out here, which means I've got to stand right back on this rock. I get a little bit wet here. It's very safe though. I'm not going to get washed anywhere. So what I'm hoping to do now is wait for a little break in between the waves, and if I can just get my bait out there just for a few minutes, just for a couple of minutes in between the waves, I might get a better sized fish. If the swell was just that little bit smaller today, I can fish here. But it's actually supposed to be later this afternoon. The waves are on the rise. They're getting bigger. So I'll lose any window of opportunity. I won't be able to fish here tomorrow. The waves will be too big. It will be a matter of finding another spot that is protected. All right, there's a bit of a break now, no waves coming. So I'm going to flick my float out, see if we can get a drummer bite. That lands me roughly in the zone where I've just landed. So if it calms down just a little bit in between these waves, then the thing is, if I hook a nice fish, I've got to get him in. So let's just see what happens before these bigger waves. There's a couple of medium-sized waves happening right now. I need to cast out again. Oh, I like to wind it in quickly because you can get caught on the rocks, get snagged, lose your gear and have to re-rig. Okay, so I've tossed it out there. Let's just see, just for a few split seconds, if I can get a bite. Because I expect that there'll be bigger fish just here. It's definitely a good, better looking spot than in there. Just keeping my eye open on those waves to my right, while I'm watching my float bobbing around in the white water. So I haven't had a bite. I'm getting more bites in the other spot because there's a lot more small fish there. So nothing has touched my peel prawn as yet. It's in the zone though. A little bit too close actually. So I have to chuck it back out again. It was just getting a little bit too close, too shallow, where I would get caught up on the bottom. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let this bob around here for a minute, then I'm going to go back to the other spot and just finish off the session down there, see if I can get a couple more eating fish. But this is where I could get a nice 2 kilo fish or so. Here. Just going to pull it in just a little bit. Let it rest there just before this next wave comes. Well, I had a bite anyway. Just winding my float up with this wave. Yep, so I lost my bait. I had a bite. I'm going to give this one more go here. Then I'm going to go back down to where I was before. Okay, no waves coming. Put my lovely bit of peel prawn on. Going to whack him out. You only get short windows of opportunity here at the moment. Oops, not really where I intended to land, but I'll leave it there. Because it kind of looks okay where I've landed. The sort of spot where you might get a fish there. Let's just see if I can coax one to take it before the next big wave comes. Yeah, it's a big wave out the back. Come on, fish. I just had a nibble, but not the sort of bite I want. I'm going to wind my line in and get this float out of the way. I had a couple of small drummer bites there, but, or not drummer bites, I had a couple of small bites. But yeah, it is actually too difficult to fish there, too much turbulence. Got to watch the waves every second, so I'm going to head back down to the corner and just see if I can pull a couple more fish so that I've got a bit more beautiful drummer flesh to take home. Lovely, I've got a nice little flat break at the moment, so that's good. Going to get a nice little run with this float. It went under, hey. Took my bait, probably a small fish. It's a combo of bread and prawns. This is a sweep. These are some of those little things that keep nicking your bait. I've actually jagged him in the neck. He'll be all right, he'll survive. There you go, got the hook out pretty easily. It's been a while since I've been drummer fishing. It's something that I really love, and it's amazing. There's a lot of subtleties when it comes to fishing off the rocks for drummer and a lot of species. There's tide. Tide has a huge impact. Low tide, high tide, the direction that the waves, so it's not just the size of the waves, but which direction are they coming from and how are they hitting a particular headland on a particular day. All of these things are tiny details. When I used to fish for drummer in Sydney, I knew every headland intimately, and I knew when the wind was coming one way or the waves were coming one way that one spot would be no good, but another spot would be really good. So I'm looking forward to doing some more drummer videos here and just learning this stretch of coast a little bit more. Also, it's great that now's the best time of year for catching drummer. And make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell because I've got heaps more content coming out over the next few months on rock fishing during winter, targeting snapper, drummer, and other different species. So I look forward to seeing you very soon in the next video.